And you didn't make me feel bad when I had pushed the wrong button on
Okay.
that day. You were just, it's okay. We'll
So
help
it
you
is
out.
live. It is showing live.
It sure is.
Great. Yeah, I'm Cherian Jacob. I have more than 30 years of experience in like software development, project management, information architecture, anything you can imagine. But last 3 years, we are focused on bringing solution for senior living facilities across the globe, and especially when we have a social distancing in place, many people didn't get things they wanted. Like a nurse didn't had a maybe a PPE kit to enter into a senior's room to take care of them. So you end up that person dying or experiencing very tough situation in their life. Many people couldn't say even a goodbye to their loved
Mhm.
ones because social distancing in place. They couldn't go and visit in the facility, being with them, experience
Mhm.
and share the memories. And this is what last 3 years we experienced. And we are just out of the wood, and suddenly we are all forgetting, life is going to be so cool, because I feel,
Mhm.
and me and my friends who works in the technology felt that healthcare didn't
Mhm.
really step up the game to meet the challenges and provide the best experience for its clients, basically every human being in this planet. So we built solutions which will take care of, voice activated solutions, so that it immediately, even in the middle of the night, they don't need to search for a, button to press a call. And when
Mhm.
they contact the caregiver or the nurse or the doctor or the, ICU person, exactly knows what they are, why they are calling, and who need to go and deserve, serve the client. So this also helps them to be effective, efficient, being transparent, being accountable, and bringing the cost of care down, and to have an amazing life for every seniors. And I'm getting into the seniors club, so I feel when I get into, say, an assisted living or an independent living or even a memory care, or at the end for a hospice, if I had to go to that level, I need the technology to support me. Everything possible in this, in our capacity to serve seniors is what we are committed. Um, so we built beautiful solutions, which maybe during this time, maybe we can have a quick demo of things and kind of things. But our heart and things are always with the human beings and the seniors. Money is, the secondary thing for us, because we burn money to make sure that it delivers something very critical for human beings. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Charian, you said something I haven't heard before. Was it information architecture or?
Yes, I'm an information architect. So I started my
I like that.
my journey as a, um, you know a software developer. Ended
Mhm.
up being a technical lead. I worked for GE, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, American Express, all these financial companies I worked as an
Mhm.
information architect, data architect. So I love data. So I deal with all kinds of
Mhm.
data in everywhere. And we saw how we were efficiently able to see the impact, when somebody is a card holder is trying to shop, and suddenly we wanted to give them a discount. But when it comes to healthcare, we didn't see that
Mm.
level of, say, sophistication available, right?
Oh,
We are still living in pencil and paper, and
yeah.
that is what made us to stay focused. But the challenge what I face is, I'm from a financial services background. People say,
I didn't.
do you know exactly what the healthcare? But yeah, I've been into hospital, I've been into surgeries, I've been a client and I experience
Mhm.
from a client standpoint or a patient standpoint what I would expect kind of situation when I am kind of on the bed. That is what forced me to change my perspective and being a stand for uh, one of everyone.
That's I'm it's like I just got a history lesson and, I mean, recent history lesson that and one area is pencil and paper and the other is why we really have to be sophisticated. So, information architect, Sandra, I'm thinking about you. I'm going to call you a wordsmith, and I would love for you to tell the rest of us, maybe even if you always saw yourself as an author and a blossoming author, and you went in a new direction, or did all of this come about because you do have a book? So, data, information, and crucial, emotional, yet also scientific, fact driven. I better stop because I don't want to say the wrong words, and give someone the wrong impression. So, Sandra, a book and also a life that has been poured out. Go ahead.
Well, I actually have written 4 books altogether. I'm a
Okay.
professionally, I'm a consumer educator by training, a lot in the
Mm.
health and wellness area. And so I've written a lot of different books on communication, on lifestyle, on living with gusto, and so kind of things attract my interest, and then I have to write about them. So in the case of my book called A Toxic Brain, this is what resulted from the journey that I had. It was a 12-year journey taken with my husband, who at 59, like overnight, manifested some very strange symptoms. And I mean, he had slumped over his computer. I came in to see him in the morning, and he had tremors. He had personality changes. He was speaking strangely. He had
Mm.
manifested a bunch of other symptoms. So, of course, he was hospitalized, ran through a week of conventional testing, and nothing was revealed. And they discharged him with a severe anxiety disorder. And I go, I've known this guy like decades. This is not just a little case of anxiety. So I continued my search. Doc specialist after specialist, they might have run some other little tests, but nothing indicated anything in particular. And they just kept saying he must have some psychiatric issues. So they prescribed a bunch of medications for him, none of which worked. As good fortune would have it, I was guided to um, a doctor who was a biotoxin researcher. He was just kind of leading the edge. And he had the information exactly what I needed. What I discovered, and this is what happened to my husband, is that genetically about 25% of the population are genetically vulnerable to being poured detoxifiers.
Oh.
And so by doing some protocols, a lot of times you're able to return to good health. In his case, the doctor called this, not at the time, I only learned this after the fact, a dreaded genotype, which means you're so compromised. There's only like 1-2% of the population that have this. And so it makes it very difficult to get your health back. Anyway, we did do some of the protocols, and here he started to like, whoa. I mean, nurses were saying, whoa, what things are happening. He's shifting. He's like present. I mean, he was kind of spaced out at different times. And oops.
Sorry.
And so once I learned that, I recognized this is not just a strange, unusual case affecting one person. This is affecting millions of people. And that is why I was compelled to write this. And so the good news is that what I discovered from this is, and it was only after my husband died. My husband died in 2016. And I was writing the book and came upon the research from Dr. Brederson, who wrote The End of Alzheimer's. And he had basically announced that there's a toxic type of Alzheimer's caused from mold, caused from all these toxins that we're inhaling, ingesting, absorbing into our bodies. And so that's sort of the good news that I wanted to leave the readers with. It's also a story of care issues. And that's why I'm glad we have our other guest today, because when you're dealing with, first of all, this hit at 59. The good news was, because coincidentally, ironically, my husband's work was working a lot with toxic tort cases of people that were injured by asbestos, by sick building syndrome. He actually worked on EPA's own class action suit about sick building syndrome and people getting sick. And at the time I would go, that doesn't make any sense. Why would some people in the same building can't get off the sofa in the morning and other people show up and they're fine? And I got it. It's genetics. And the good news is that we now know that by doing certain protocols that we can restore. They're now able to restore. There's research and documented now, it's been out for some time, that people are reversing their cognitive decline. But they've got to be proactive. This is where lifestyle medicine, and we were talking about exercise earlier, and the foods that we eat, and looking for underlying causes, looking for root causes. And our healthcare system really isn't addressing that. Functional evaluation will really uncover these things so that we can be proactive. And that is why I wrote the book as really a wake-up call in our toxic times, because it's affecting all of us. Just some are a little bit more susceptible earlier to things, like the canary in the coal mine.
You took us on a ride from
Absolutely.
poison, and then the tragedy of even weeks of your husband being told, it's up here, it's in your emotions, all of that. And then you took us into the good news is things can be done about this. And yes, I agree with genetics, because of friends that we've had where mom was sick and then it manifested in the daughters. In fact, it might have manifested in one of the daughters more seriously. And even wearing a device that would purify the air, so a tiny air purifier right here, because of sick building syndrome. Right. And, it's really easy when you don't have celiac, you don't have something else that's affected by what comes into you, to go, well, how are we going to change everything?
Well,
that's what, go ahead.
Well, this is the good news, because they do know that there's now these, as Dr. Brederson's research shows, what he calls 36 factors, but there's actually more than that now that have been revealed. And when you address those factors, that we've got a chance. I think they're now showing about a 40% reversal of cognitive decline. And patients, it's so exciting to hear these patients that had basically, they couldn't find themselves, drive around, they couldn't do anything. And then they've got their life back. It's just very exciting. So that's where we are in terms of there are answers. You can get them. You have to sometimes kind of go to functional doctors to get them, because toxicity still to this day, because this happened, he was hit in 2004. So over time, you would think that more would be adopted, But and that's part of what I say is we've got to kind of retrain. We got to really look at 21st century illnesses not being diagnosed or evaluated or treated by 20th century medicine. So
Well, thank you for responding to my the but what do we do? And it's like, well, there's an answer, not just, oh, we should feel bad about.
Yeah.
There's actual action. There's action, actionable.
Right.
And that's really big with me. If I'm in a room with a bunch of people who are all going to complain about ageism or, you know, another social ill or something like that, and then we go, well, our time is up. Let's complain again next week. It's not gonna do it.
It's being solution based, and that's why we're living at a time now where we can look at these diseases, these dreaded diseases, and you know, once you get that diagnosis, there's no turning back. But the good news is now that doesn't have to be your health destiny, that we can change our health destiny, and we can even help to prevent that destiny. Because as it turned out, I have not the dreaded genetics, but I'm among the 25%. I also learned, as I describe in my book, my mom, who also has it, developed autoimmune, got Alzheimer's. My daughters, I had them tested once I found out this was genetic. They've got the gene. So we all have to be, you know, now we're aware. So you just be proactive. I'm detoxing. I mean, I do a lot of things that I know lifestyle medicine can really make a big difference. And what it is turning, you turn off that gene. You turn off that gene that's going to express it, or the genes. It's not just one. But so yeah, so that's why it's I look at the horizon now with there are answers that their headway is really being made on what was really till this day still is a scourge, but as more and more is learned and more doctors are recognizing the functional aspect and how important that is.
Christine, are we able to just jump in, or?
I was about to say, Scott, before we went live, and yes, before we went live, Sandra said to you, my story, Sandra speaking, that her story, her journey with her husband, her own, what Alipio de Vera would call citizen scientist, advocacy, etc. She said her story affects your industry. So Scott, please tell us about this industry that seems different, but it definitely
Sure.
solidifies some things for people when they hear about these things. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. If I may, just before I get into all that, just if I may, a quick question to Sandra, or is that getting ahead of?
I love it. I love it. Go right ahead.
We were talking a little bit before we went live about the food and everything and all of, you know, that part of production and what we eat. But so what I heard you say, Sandra, is that, and I apologize, I'm not real good on video. I'm not sure where I should look. My eyes
are doing perfectly good.
But so
perfect.
The great news that you've shared is that there are things we can do. I'm assuming a lot of what we can do is change eating habits, those types of things in our control. Why isn't this heard of more, or is it? And I've just been living under a rock. And why is it that doctors are so? Is it just the whole pharma thing?
There's a difference between conventional medicine and functional medicine. Conventional is trained, the doctors are trained to look at the symptoms, not at the root cause. What's causing the symptoms? Let me see what I can do to treat that with a medication. Maybe it requires surgery, etc. Functional medicine looks at the holistic part of what's going on. What are the drivers? What are the drivers of inflammation? Now, my husband, in addition to all this toxic stuff, had gum disease. This was the only condition he had. He was perfectly healthy, in my opinion, except he had gum disease. Well, in gum disease, that candida can go right to the brain.
Right.
So it's like looking at what can we do to be preventive. So there's a different model, and that's why I'm really, and this is what the book really promotes. This is where we need to go. These are some of the things, and I do address smart choices for our toxic times. But people need to know there are answers that are out there, but conventional medicine isn't trained on that. I think more and more now they're seeing the changes in patients when they're addressing. I had a doctor, or my personal doctor is he's both a medical doctor and a functional doctor. And he himself got sick by mold, he and his wife. And so I asked him to review this book. And this is what's happening. Doctors themselves are having health challenges that their treatments aren't working. But when they address them from a functional standpoint and you drill down and you find out all of what's being, causing that inflammation and addressing it, miracles really happen.
Sure. Chris, I don't know. It sounds like Sandra is a perfect person to create a course for the WCN class, like a 6-week or a 6-month challenge to detoxify. And
my bald head has too many ideas coming out of this conversation from today, because everybody fits in what we're doing. But I don't want to take your time, Scott.
No. So, what Christine was talking about, Sandra and I engaging in a conversation before we went live. My background is as Charian's. I'm personal finance, financial services industry. I, though, am not a tech guy at any level. I kind of alluded to that when I'm not even sure where to look on the video. But I'm personal finance. I was an independent financial advisor for 12 years. I help people through retirement planning, estate planning, investment strategies, all of that. I'm a certified financial planner. More recently, I worked in one of the larger financial institutions in their call centers. So I'm familiar with talking with people about personal finances and having conversations, just asking questions and listening and trying my best to understand what their challenges and concerns are to help, provide education, resources, et cetera, to get them to where they can make decisions and hopefully better their situations and best case scenarios, get ahead of the challenges that may arise through lack of planning. So what Sandra was talking about was how she, in her book, has talked about the importance of long-term care insurance and so forth, and how that had helped her situation and her husband both lead better quality lives, et cetera. And so that's where we tied a little bit in, as far as my background, having those conversations of trying to have people realize, those types of challenges, so that while they're healthy, can get insured, and if they can afford it, because unfortunately that's not inexpensive. So it's not always an option along the way. But that said, that's my background. I'm a personal finance guy. And just a little more, I'm always humbled when I'm new to this care economy, meaning focusing on helping people get better prepared for acting as caregivers. My strength is not being a caregiver. I was sharing earlier, I've been very fortunate. My parents are in their early 80s, doing well. They're golfing, having fun, and still enjoying life. Hopefully, for decades to come. their parents lived into their mid to late 90s.
Wow.
And so I watched my parents help their parents. And so I acted as a fiduciary, power of attorney, executor for some of my family, from a few of my grandparents. So that's my exposure to, stepping into a certain aspect of helping, through the aging process. But the actual day to day, I'm humbled. I'm just amazed at the strength that you have. I don't know that I would have that. I hope I would, but I haven't been
Resilience.
tested.
You have to look at what's the choice. you,
Yeah,
the whole care. You want to prepare for unexpected life twists.
yeah,
You really do, because you don't know.
right.
And thank to all people that do what you do. So critical.
So my niche, just a little more. My niche, I got out of the financial planning world. I'm not giving advice anymore. I wanted to reach a broader audience, reach more people. So I feel my niche in this care economy is to meet people as early in this journey as I can to help them, again, take necessary steps. Now, I'm not a lawyer, no legal advice, but certain legal documents you should have in place. But above and beyond that, many financial institutions have their own internal paperwork that needs to be signed now. So even if you have a power of attorney, oftentimes that is not enough. You need to get more proactive. So it's all of this that I want to help people understand. While everyone's healthy, ideally is the best case scenario. But unfortunately, I think we've all experienced people often don't take action until the crisis occurs. And then you're trying to wrap your arms around a million things at once. And so I want to help those people as well. So my niche first beforehand, but maybe in the first year, then I, believe people that have done the actual caregiving are better able to help, with the longer term side of things, the actual medical side and so forth. But so that's a little bit about where I see myself in this.
I hark back to the conventional medical help and the functional medical help, and it's kind of going over now into the finance and the legal documents, but having to do with financing and who's in charge of the money, not just what money or where it should go, but who's in charge of making a decision when things change. And it's like going from the usual estate planning. That sounds to me like something that's been in place for a long time, and going into the, start way back and know your options, or know that this could change. Make sure you check in again to see if state or national legalities are going a different direction. Is there a new way to do things? Even the statement about shared,
Care.
what did you call it?
Shared care.
Shared care. Yeah. Long-term care, shared care, just getting ahead rather than treating the symptom or taking action when there's just a crisis, but taking action ahead of time, going, hey, these are the crises that can occur. And it's like, but it's not happening right now. I'm okay. I can talk about these things.
Right.
Yeah, it is serious information. But the same would be true if you were going on a vacation in a country where you don't speak the language. And if all you heard was, well, these are all the things that can go wrong, then maybe you wouldn't go there, but you really want to. And so it's like, yes, I will wear my money belt underneath my clothing. Yes, I will learn some phrases or make a friend, ahead of time. And then you get to go there. And as life continues, we are all going there. We are all going into our future. and it might be a very long future. So I was just, when I got to talk with Christopher on a Zoom that he carved out time for, and I don't know where he finds time to carve out.
I don't know either. It's like,
He said that there's a lot of things going on in his mind. Christopher, I'm just saying, what's going on in your mind?
well, what's going on in my mind is I'm like really thrilled to be here with everybody because I've met 3 new people today that in one sense, I really don't know, but I do know because when it comes to comes to caregiving and caregivers, there's no strangers.
Yeah.
We all understand each other's stories. We all understand our why. And that's been one of the joys for me for being in this space since goodness 2010, 2011, because one of the things I've learned along this journey is, and I'm going to ask it, and I asked this question to all my guests on my podcast. I said, have you met anybody that has caregiving on their bucket list of things to do in life? And I think, Scott, you both, Scott and Sandra, really hit on some, and Sharon, you both hit on so many similar topics that we don't really make plans for this. And caregiving happens because of 2 things: an unfortunate accident or a untimely diagnosis, and suddenly you're thrust into this role. And for the majority of us, we don't have an understanding of technology, how hospital systems work, how financial systems work, the legal system. We don't, we're thrown into this in the middle of, and I'm just going to be, kind of graphic here. We're thrown in the middle of this while we're in the back of an ambulance trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do next. And I've been corrected here recently. I've had a couple of people say, "No, wait a minute. I've chose to be a caregiver because my spouse or my partner is handicapped." And I thought, "Oh goodness, I really admire you for doing that." But there are folks that choose this, but for the majority of us, we're thrown into it at a moment's notice. And I firmly believe, my background's in social work, theology, but when it's personalized and even if you have this experience, it's different. But I firmly believe it's through story sharing where diversity meets the road to collaborate on a common cause. Everybody here has a story about why they're doing what they're doing in this space. And that is why, and that is where caregivers, especially those who are in an emergency, and that emergency could be ongoing, that's where they get the most trusted information and referrals from, is those folks that have been in the trenches, that understand it, bring their expertise to it, because they know I'm not going to get a bad referral from this person because they've checked this person or this company out. And I think it just kind of personalizes it. That's why, I come back to this, podcasting. I started out blogging about my partner's esophageal cancer. It progressed into podcast, and we started the Whole Care Network as a hobby. And all of a sudden, there's like 350,000 downloads, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I'm not a business person. There's more here than what I could have imagined." But it goes back to the thought about story sharing and hearing it authentically through each person's voices, which is what Christina's created here with this brand, which I think is so awesome.
Agreed.
Scott, do not count yourself out as a caregiver because you were a financial caregiver. I would need a you in family caregiving. Cherian, you also experienced family caregiving, and it was quite a distance, and it gave birth to Care Genie.
Yes.
Am I getting that story correct? Your
Correct.
family.
Yeah, my father-in-law, he is 98 years old and blind. And he and both of them parents are alive, so we are lucky. So they are there. My mom, 87 years old, and she came to US and stayed with me, and I really enjoyed being with her. But many times my father-in-law couldn't even dial the number because he can't see it. So now we have, kind of system in place, like an Alexa system, that which he can just call daughters, and it will be there, and this helps. And that's the time we thought, okay, how we could expand it. So when Alexa, Amazon designed, they never had this kind of, how the Alexa people will be using, in the world, like, on the healthcare or other world. So the only commercial skill they come out with was Alexa for Business, which was intended for conference room booking. And by the time, like 2019, we got into like a pandemic, and we used leverage that platform and said, we could do differently. And now Amazon has come out with more options, where in which they have something called Alexa smart properties, senior living use case, Alexa for healthcare. So they have various things. So we worked with them very closely to bring the best value. And even we recommended, we scaled down some of the capabilities what we originally given, because certain things are still yet to be like fail proof. So if you look at how the skill today works, it's so simple. I have an Alexa sitting behind me. I don't know whether you can see it. A small thing. So that's all like a $20 or say $35 device, which is going to do the beauty. So all I'm going to ask is right now, Alexa, help me.
Hi, this is Care Genie. How can I help you?
Can I have some coffee?
Sure. Would you like to have some coffee?
Yes.
Your request for resident needs coffee has been sent. If this is a medical emergency, please call 911. Thank you for using Care Genie.
And if they wanted to know what is for today's lunch, Alexa, help me.
If this is a life-threatening Hi, this is Care Genie. How can I help you?
What's for lunch today?
I can help you with specific questions. Your menu for lunch for February 8, 2023 is option 1. Menu is pasta, fish, broccoli, and lentil soup. Alternate menu is not planned. Do you want menu for another day?
Yes.
Please say the date.
Tomorrow.
Which menu would you like to hear breakfast, lunch, snacks, or dinner?
Lunch.
Your menu for lunch for February 9th, 2023 is option 1. Menu is pasta, fish, broccoli, and lentil soup. Alternate menu is Indian, vegetarian meal, and Indian non-vegetarian meals. Do you want menu for another day?
No.
Thank you for using Care Genie. Thank you
So
for your request for resident needs coffee. Currently processing by Cafe.
it immediately gives the feedback, and the caregiver get a notification on their mobile for anything. So if they say they fell or they have some emergency in the middle of the night, they just say a few words, and it immediately transmit, and it do the more information, like they escalate. Like if they don't get attention, it escalate. It send an email to the supervisor. It send a like a reminder to the, or push notification on the mobile to everybody that this is not completed. So this is the way we see a system would work effectively, and they don't need to be like living in kind of thing. So I can show you a few things in this thing, where if somebody for example ask for a coffee, and or anything they wanted, right? then the caregiver got it. So I can say, okay, I am bringing coffee. So this, they send it into the,
Here's your reminder from Care Genie. Okay, I am bringing coffee.
did you hear that?
Here's a reminder from Care Genie.
So
Okay, I
it,
am
so
bringing
this way you can keep, updating, like, hey, we are coming to help you. The doctor will be there in 2 minutes. So this is way they don't need to keep asking or pressing anything. Even if they fall or something happen, we want to make sure that they are safe. In the meantime, they could pass all the quick tips. Hey, don't move from there. Don't do this thing. All kinds of things they can do it. And the beauty is, as an administrator, when you look at, like, when you look at an incident, you had the history of, okay, at 9:01 the person said I fell, and 9:02 somebody said I'm on the way, and 9:03 somebody said doctor is on the way, doctor is notified and they're coming, and 9:04 he is taken care, right? So this way we can bring accountability, because you don't need to do anything. All you need to do is keep speaking. So I could demonstrate it because we are still in the conversation. We didn't even change the face to somewhere, because Alexa sitting way back, and maybe 15 to 20 or 25 feet away, this can pick up the stuff and do the things for you. And we have a lot of smart automations, like I wanted to increase the high, the air conditioning. Yes, you can program it. We can make sure that light shut off. You can say what music I wanted to play, or if they wanted to change the window curtain little bit here and there, if we bring the automation there, the person can do it. So this way we are really helping the aging to help, and be in conversation, and make them healthy. And we recently implemented it in 2 facilities in India. And we got a testimony from the person. He said he is learning a lot of new things, not from here, because when he was a child, he wanted to ask many questions to his teacher, which he couldn't because he was shy. Now he said, I am not only using your system, I am learning a lot thing about what I couldn't do when I was a child, and I'm asking Alexa, because Alexa is helping me to do many things. So can't you see that it is where we become creative, efficient, and cost effective? It's not going to cost a lot. So we have some good offer for people. If anyone who wanted to do it, yes, now it is available free. Yes, absolutely free, until we reach a state where we cannot support. So this way, you don't need to wait, to do this system. We are here because we want to make sure that we fulfill everything that is needed for seniors. So we are making the solution available. Take advantage of this time, and be join with us and share us what do you think, what more we need to do, because we could do many things. What we implemented is maybe less than a percentage of what we could do, but that is the first step. But we want to make sure that everything can be easily managed, and the caregiving could be like you and me, like an Uber kind of thing. Like you should be able to go and help your parents, and someone in my, if my neighbor, if I get to know that my neighbor needs some service, and if that was available and I have the skill to do it, I don't mind in going and helping and feeding that person. But we don't know, we don't have systems in place. So that's why we are building the system worldwide. Everything is on cloud, so there is no deployment, there is no delay, there is no shutdown. Everything is like, it's available 24 by 7 all over the world. And that is what we are doing.
Sharon, are you familiar with Med Tech Lobby on Clubhouse? Susie Bianco?
No, I don't know.
Aha, we will talk later. Someone else
Okay.
was going to say something.
Okay.
No, so you it wasn't a strong emphasis, but certainly you mentioned this is a great tool for being used in, say, a senior living facility or a nursing home or adult day care, those types of places. But then towards the end, you open it up so a person trying to stay at home longer would be able to access this tool and tie it into their local hospital, doctor facility.
So if you are at a home, if you are in a home care and an agency, because we wanted to make sure that we do it, systematically. Everyone wanted to have this system is ready for even for say consumer use, but we haven't released it. The problem is we don't have that many staff in place. If we were asked to give training in all languages to all people, so
Yeah.
one is, if we wanted to, yes, the system is fully ready, it can use even consumer, but we are going for the senior living facilities because that is where all the deaths happened, right? That is where people lost their lives, and no one got caught with that. So we want to support the facilities first, especially where people are trusting that they would get the care. And we are severely short staffed even in the care industry. We never prepared for this kind of a situation. Now, after this vaccination and many things, people are experiencing a lot of issues with the after effects of the COVID. So we need to have systems in place so that if the why we think that this need to be taken care, because the people who are vulnerable are the people cannot speak and do something. The people who can speak, at least they can say what they want and we can deliver it what they want. But the other one, we really like the person who don't have cognitive ability, we don't have enough staff to support. So if the full attention is taken care by the people who are cognitive and they can speak and do all the stuff, then the other people, they will really get neglected because there is nobody to take care. Just because they cannot speak and express the thing, no one will find out whether they had a problem or support needed.
I
So
have a
this is
personal
where,
experience. I have a personal experience in why your program
Mhm.
is important, because I went to visit my husband and I found him on the side of the bed. He had fallen,
Yeah.
and he did, and there's so many when you go to an assisted living facility or skilled nursing care, you see fall risk, all of them on their doors. And I mean, that you're right. They're just not able to check all the rooms all the time, but that would be,
And we are building our own
Mm.
like kind of pendants and other things which has more advanced technology inbuilt in the small things, so that we exactly know what happened, so that we are not giving false alarm to the people. And many times even the system today in place, when you fall, okay, they will call you. By the time you have fallen and you cannot even get up, where do you pick up the phone and talk to the person? That's not going to happen, right? So this is where we need to be smart. The technology today is equipped with all kinds of things, but the industry is not ready to grab it. They still think that some regulation, they have all these things in place. So some of the things what we needed is from our, say, the senators and congressmen to pass the law in such a way that certain barriers which was created meant for maybe 20 years back are not taken care. Those are removed from from the healthcare, like HIPAA standpoint. Even today you cannot take a camera, phone with a camera, so you need to use pagers. Some of those kinds of things make ridiculously not valid in today's world, because we are already doing all kinds of things, and we need to use the smart technologies so that this can be reduced. and the data is important. Like, what is this, we are creating? So we need to bring as much data. The data should speak for the person. Data should support them. Data should be the guardian for them. So we need to make sure that we generate the data in all aspects so that we can better understand the situation, what exactly happened, and how we could support. So yeah, we are in a stage where we need, because I am from financial background, the only thing, if I get to be the CEO of maybe some of those company, I would have transformed everything by this time. I'm guaranteeing. If somebody is challenging me, yes, I'm ready for that. But the thing is, we need support from the caring industry and healthcare. If we don't do it, we are going to get into a bigger mess, because COVID is just one thing came and hit us. There could be many such things coming in our on the way. So we need to be prepared, and we need to have our system foolproof and fail proof and support our community. Otherwise we won't exist as human beings in this planet, and we all will regret. We got all the technology, what did you do with that? And if I stand in front of God on the last day on my thing, he will ask, not that, did I look at a girl and said something? He'll say, what did you do with all the wisdom I gave it to you? So it is my job to make sure that when I stand there, I can say, you know what, God, you gave me this. I did this much. I didn't know whether it is correct, but I need to do as much things possible. And
As much as you can.
finally he say that, what, we are going to send you to hell. I'm fine with that, because I will find peace even in the hell. Right? That's what my commitment. But I won't stop just because there is somebody said this is not possible. I'm not going
Oh,
I'm ready to fight with the God.
we're all in there with you. We're doing what we can.
I have something for the two financial people on this call. And I'm going to try to talk in financial terms. One of the big changes in this caregiving conversation, this aging conversation, is because decision makers, whether they're local or national policymakers, they have finally understood that there is a monetary figure that's been associated with what has always been perceived as a social problem. Caregiving and aging, up until I think actually the pandemic, has all been looked at as a social issue. But they're both multi-billion-dollar industries. And when the politicians, the decision makers, I'm going to be generic and say the decision makers, have recognized that there is a path here that connects profit and loss across the board. That is one of the reasons this niche market per se has really taken off. And Cherian, for the product that you've developed, if I was a salesperson for you, I would go into these senior living centers and I would pitch them as, you know what, we're going to have detailed statistics and for all your families who are bringing their loved one to our community. That's a feature. They're all competitive. They're all looking for the next edge to get that to get that client from their wait list or the prospects into a room. And I think that's what's hard for folks like myself, who's on the social work, the feel good side of this, is how to balance the two. And I think that's why we're seeing such a big emphasis put on this issue.
I don't know how to market.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Yeah, I get it, and I don't know the financial side. That's my problem. So that's why we should all be working together.
Yep.
It seems
I'm sorry.
It seems like it could also address the social isolation issue.
And that was exactly.
I mean, you could be stimulated, it's like, Jeannie, tell me about blah, 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 blah. I mean, it would stimulate them. And we know that social isolation is detrimental to their health. And
Beanie, play a podcast on the Whole Care Network.
Yes, we can.
right, right.
We do.
I did serve people
So I have to
who
leave
had.
now because I have
Oh, you
another
do?
meeting scheduled.
Yes,
So thank you
yes.
so much for your time and truly
We're
appreciate it. Have
we're
a
at the end.
wonderful rest of the day for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yay!
Jerry.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Yay! And each of
Sure.
you can give me whatever you would like for me to put out when I boost this replay and put it on the
Sure,
trampoline and
sure.
let it bounce out.
Anything that is needed, I'll be there. Yep.
Yay!
Thank you.
I did have. Oh, goodbye.
Sometimes
Oh,
it's best to leave, not make a big scene.
no. That's right. Just we're at
In all
that
fairness,
point.
he did wave a little bit, so he.
Yeah.
Right.
And we are apparently off. No, it still says live. Oh, that's really funny because I thought we were off. So I was just gonna, like let my hair down and just start yakking with you guys. You know,
Christine, when you say
we
say
will
let
be
your
in
hair-
we will be in a moment. I have served people who no longer had their sight, and the word clever came into mind. And even before Sandra said that, I was thinking of the person who wanted to show off their device and what they could do with it, because it's been said that 80% of button pushes, those devices, are not emergencies, but wanting information, not just accidental whoopsies,
Right.
or I didn't know if this was but just I need information, and there's a voice that will come.
Right.
And so this person was not a button pusher because they had the voice activation, and they could simply they didn't have Care Genie, but they could ask what was on the grocery list, because there were family members that were going to pick things up or were going to order it and have it delivered, because they were all a distance away and involved in their own daily lives. And so, just to sit there with someone and hear what they hear when there's no one there, because still living completely
Right.
independently, and just hear, and it's like, now delete that. I don't need that anymore, because one of the other hired caregivers actually brought some. They didn't want me to run out, and and then go on to something else, and then listening to books, on audio books, and the other things that were stimulating, like you said, but also really necessary, because sight wasn't going to serve them for a grocery list anymore. It just,
Thank
I'm
goodness
so grateful.
there are changes that are needed, absolutely necessary in all areas. So the paradigm is shifting, and it's exciting that we're able to witness, to be a part of that, and really help people to lead better lives as they age.
Chris, you mentioned
At any
something
age.
about legislatures. I live in Pennsylvania, which, if you know anything about state politics, Pennsylvania has a reputation for being one that is not as efficient, I'll say it politely, as others.
We share something in common. I'm in Florida, so
Okay.
No. And the banner is about to go across. So,
Yeah.
Scott, let's finish with you.
Just quickly, I was reading an article a little bit this morning about how in Pennsylvania they're tying Medicaid reimbursements. They're working on this, tying Medicaid reimbursements to performance in nursing homes and so forth. They're working on trying to, instead of just giving blanket dollars, they want to see results. So for Pennsylvania, I think it's one of the few proactive states trying to tie those things together. So point being, if Pennsylvania is trying to be proactive, things are shifting.
Things are shifting. They are shifting. It just takes time.
Yeah.
So.
I heard from a colleague here in Oregon too, and those exact words are on my little postie there, reimbursement for adult care homes, you know, so things are rolling, and we can all continue doing what we do to keep things rolling the right direction. I just love these times. Thank you so much for doing what you do and for sharing some of it today, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.